Welcome back, I'm a woke black teacher. Today we're going to be talking about the social politics of hair, why I've chosen to grow my hair out, and what you can do to build equity for kids in and outside of the classroom, especially kids of color, as it pertains to their hair. And while we're doing all that, I'm going to show you all the products I use to get this effect with my hair. Let's get started. Now, I'm sure you've seen a lot of hairstyles very similar to mine over the past couple of years, especially on African American men. But did you ever wonder about the social politics that come along with hair? Now, I know most of you probably haven't because you've worn your hair the same way for the majority of your life. And for most people outside of the African American race, that's probably the norm. The first thing you're gonna need to do before you can get hair like this is you're gonna need to grow your hair out. Now, mine isn't even that long, and so you really wanna make sure that you have about this much length, but you're gonna wanna have a lot of hair on the top of your head. It's going to be really uncomfortable, especially for a person like me because my head is so large. I had to grow my hair out all directions because you can't just shave it on the sides with a little bit on the top. It's not gonna get the same effect as you would hope for. There are some things that you can do to help out with this process because I know personally for me, it's taken me almost 3 months even to get this little bit of hair, and trust me, I don't really have time for all that, so I was looking for something that could help my hair speed up in the growth process. And it took a long time, mostly because I haven't even grown my hair out to this length since I was about 1 year old. I mean, look at that hair. So the first thing you're gonna need to help speed up your hair growth is this stuff called biotin. Now, biotin is something that the sisters out there have been using for a very long time, and not only does it make your hair super strong and healthy and promote growth, it also makes your nails super strong if you're into that type of thing, but obviously I'm using it specifically for my hair. Now, I stumbled upon biotin because my barber was out of town, I went to some new guy, and he totally up my beard, so much so that this was like a week before Thanksgiving, and whenever I go home, my sisters always have comments on whether, you know, my hair is on point, what am I doing with my beard. And for all of you dudes out there who probably have older sisters, you know that they stay on your ass all the time about making sure that all of your facial hair and everything is on point. And so I didn't have a whole lot of time, so I was looking for quick fixes basically. And so I stumbled upon biotin, and biotin is basically a vitamin. It really helps stimulate hair growth. Now, even if you take 1 a day supplements, that's gonna have biotin in it, but this stuff right here, this stuff has like 10,000 micrograms of biotin. That's a lot of biotin. It's really gonna promote that strong, healthy hair growth. So if you haven't had any experience with growing out your hair, make sure that you're putting biotin into your system. It's really gonna help. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. You should use biotin at your own risk. It might not have the same effects for you as it did for me, and I am in no way trained in any field of medicine, so make sure that you consult a physician or somebody who actually knows what they're talking about before you put this into your system. The next piece that you want to have is you want to have a good barber, right? So like I just told you that I went to a barber who I didn't know very well, and they messed up my beard, which is really a blessing in disguise because I stumbled upon biotin. But you want to make sure that you have a barber that knows you and your head shape. Growing this out up top isn't just about growing hair on the top of your head. For me, I have an incredibly large head with lots of curves on it. I had to not only grow out the sides, but I needed somebody who could shape it so that it doesn't look like I have a mushroom cap sitting on top of my dome, and that was a really important part of the process for me, okay? So make sure you have a barber that you trust, that knows what they're doing, and remember, you get what you pay for. If your barber is charging you $20, $30, $40, depending on the city where you live, it is always worth paying for it than getting a trash haircut. The next thing you're gonna need is a solid pick. Now, I got this pick at Sally's Beauty Supply. Lots of cities have them. You can get them on Amazon. I've linked a couple down below, but you wanna make sure that you get a pick with metal teeth. Don't go for the pick with plastic teeth, especially if you've got super thick curls, because it's not gonna work as well for you. The next thing that you're gonna need is this sponge. This is pretty much the MVP of the whole process. This is what's gonna give you that twisted effect. So when you rub this on your hair in a circular motion, it binds the curls together that give you that dope twisted look. So please do not skip out on this process. Now, this bad boy is incredibly expensive. I think I picked this up for like almost $30 here in Seattle, but you can definitely find this particular brush or sponge or whatever you wanna call it on Amazon for cheaper. This one is made by a company called New Dread, and I've liked it a lot, but don't feel compelled to go out and spend $30. I mean, it's just some foam. Now the next thing you want to get is this Cantu Moisturizing Curl Activator Cream. Try saying that 5 times fast. Now what you do is you take this and you want to put this on your hair like directly after a shower. Pro tip, make sure that when you're starting this process that your hair is just a little bit damp but not too wet. If your hair is too wet, you're not going to get the effect. The curls are going to fall out and it's just going to be a mess. You would have wasted your time. But back to this cream, you want to make sure that you get something very similar to this. This is the best, cheapest option. You can get this for like $5 at Walmart. I'll link it down below. But what this is gonna do, this is gonna help the curls stick together to make sure that once you twist your hair, it stays twisted for as long as possible. So I know that was a lot of information. So just to recap the order, you wanna take a shower, make sure your hair is clean, pick it out, make sure that it's actually kind of dry before you start this process. Put the cream in, make sure that you get it nice and soaked up in your scalp. And then at the very end, you wanna use your brush, twist it out. But I'm gonna show you how to do all that while we're talking about the politics of this. So let's get into it. All right, so let's get into the social politics of hair. Now, while I'm talking about this, I'm gonna start picking out my head, so excuse me if you can't see my eyes or whatever. But if you think about it, African-American hair is pretty much the only hair that we have to alter from its natural state in order to be accepted by society. And so the problem with that is that most other cultures can walk around, go into the workplace, do what they need to do, and their hair would still be seen as professional. Now, there's a long history of people outside of Black culture who have been judging us about our hair for a very long time. Now, to be fair, like many other people, I had the same hairstyle basically from the time when I was 2 to the time when I was like maybe 23, 24 years old. When I was 24, I started rocking a bald head, in which that looked really good. I appreciated that. And it wasn't until I started seeing, these types of hairstyles, a lot of, Black dudes growing out their hair, that I was like, man, that is a dope look. And I started seeing it in DC when I was working. And so I kind of started experimenting with growing my hair out, getting my Cornell West on or whatever. And then I had a supervisor come up to me and ask me, yo, when are you thinking about getting a haircut? And this dude was white, and I was just like,
what? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So yeah, you could imagine how awkward that made me feel, especially as a young professional trying to make it in a space where I wanted to kind of show what I was worth, but at the same time, I didn't want to lose my identity in the process. And this whole conversation of hair is one of identity. This whole idea of the conversation around how hair is linked to identity has gone all the way back to the days of slavery. So when a Black person was captured in an attempt to sell them as a slave, one of the first things that those captors would do was shave their heads, right? Just like you were shearing cattle before you were getting ready to sell it. Now what this did and why this was advantageous for the slave captors was it removed a piece of their identity. Now I'm sure we all remember that scene from Roots where Kunta Kinte got whipped for not wanting to give up his African name. That just shows you how important identity is, especially for people of color. Oftentimes, people of color and other marginalized communities have been pushed so far to the outskirts of society that we often leave our own identities behind in favor of trying to be more white. Most of the time, people rock their hair so short in order to fit into society and to be seen as professional, and that is the problem with the politics of hair. I want to be able to wear my hair in its natural state as not only an expression of who I am and what I value, but also promote this idea that I should be able to walk into any space and feel accepted and respected regardless of how I wear my hair. Now, to be fair, African American women have been blazing this trail for years with the natural hair movement. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be having a conversation like this right now. So to all you sisters who are out there rocking your hair just the way that God intended, I salute you, I stand with you, and I am so proud of every single one of you. So I've finished picking out my hair, all the curls are out. I'm gonna take this curl activating cream and I'm only gonna put like, maybe a dime size amount in my hand. I'm gonna rub it, heat it up, put it in my hair. And now you might be wondering, Brandon, what the hell does this have to do with education? So when I think about it, kids don't really understand racism in the same way that adults do. Unfortunately, that's something that is learned through really hard life lessons. A perfect example of this is a little girl in my class that I had last year. Now, this little girl wore box braids for the majority of the year, and one day she came and her braids were taken out and she had a hood on her head. And so I went up to her and I was like, sweetie, we don't wear hoods in class, what's going on? She was like, well, I got my braids taken out and and I'm really embarrassed about what my hair looks like. I was like, all right, cool, I understand. So for the morning portion of the class, I let her wear a hood. Really fortunately, I had just found this dope book at Barnes & Noble's. I will link that down below as well. And it talks all about how African-American girls should be proud of their hair no matter what state it's in. It talks about how some girls have really flat hair. It talks about how some girls have really curly hair. It talks about how some girls wear braids, and it talks about how some girls wear their hair any kind of way they want to. You can imagine how powerful this is for a little girl who doesn't really know how identity plays into hair, but definitely feels those social anxieties when she knows that the hair that she was born with won't be accepted in every space, so that she feels that she needs to put a hood on top of it. I'll finish up that story in a second. The next thing you want to do is take this brush and start just twisting. Now this process usually takes me anywhere from 4 to 5 minutes to get it exactly how I want it.
5 minutes later.
And so anyway, I had this book that came in from recess. I was able to read this book to her, and then after they got back from lunch, she wasn't wearing her hood anymore. And I went up to her and I said, yo, I see you're not wearing your hood. Do you feel more, confident about your hairstyles? And she was like, yeah, I really do. Thank you for reading that book for me. And that kind of highlights what I want you to do. What I want you as an educator, as a parent, as a person who has interactions with any kid, but especially African-American kids, is I want you to go the extra mile and not only accept their natural hair for what it is, but also give them a compliment. Tell them that their hair is beautiful just the way it is. Tell them that they can be anything and do anything and be the person who they are in the way that they were originally created. And if you can do that, then we might just be able to make education for everyone. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. I think that this looks pretty good, but that about wraps it up for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.